Hello and welcome. This is We Talk Football. Now, today, I want to start something new. Something that I've been thinking about for a few days, actually, not for very long. But after the Champions League final that we watched last week, I heard a lot of people and a lot of talk, people saying this might be the greatest, Champions League final performance of all time. This is one of the greatest performances in a final in football history, like that kind of thing, which I do not dispute at all. Winning 5-0 in a Champions League final is incredible. And the way they scored goals, the way they played football, the passing, the interchange between, their offensive players, their midfield, it was sensational from PSG. No qualms, no rebuttals from me at all. I agree with that. But it got me thinking, it got me a little excited the way people were talking about this game and the way they were talking about PSG's performance. And I was like, I have to, and I always do this anyway. I have to go back, watch some past games, some classic football matches, and I need to talk about those games. You know what I mean? Because I've been lucky enough to watch some incredible games. And today I wanted to start some sort of series where I talk about past games. Games that will go down in history as one of the greatest in football history. Some games that had so much excitement, that had fire, that had legends, players, skill, beautiful goals, drama, you know what I mean? And I wanted to go back and watch some games, which I already do anyway. When I have some time and there's a game that I've been wanting to watch, I do go back and I watch it. So for this series, I'm just going to do that. Talk about past games, classic games, games that live long in the memory. And I am going to call that series Playback. So the series is going to be called Playback, and we're going to look at past games. The first game that we're going to look at, I think, is an incredible game, and it fits the beginning of a series like this. It fits Playback. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Barcelona versus Manchester United 2009 Champions League final. One of the greatest matches of all time. If you're a Barcelona fan, of course. But even if you're a Man United fan, you cannot dispute, you cannot say you don't recognize or you don't appreciate the football that we saw that day. You cannot say that is not one of the greatest matches simply because you were probably on the receiving end of one of the greatest performances we've seen, And I want to start with the season for Barcelona, and in my opinion, right, when Barcelona started the season, Frank Rijkaard was gone. Pep came in, and Pep told Juan Laporta, famously said, I am going to win everything. Barcelona is going to win everything. And in my opinion, that was the beginning of the greatest football dynasty in history.
I'm telling you, look at my face, like I could have killed a lot of people.
Yep. I'm standing on that mountain. I believe that 2009 Barcelona Champions League final, right? I mean, of course, it had began before that, but that beginning of that season, when Barcelona hired Pep, when they let go of Frank Rijkaard, when they released Ronaldinho, when they released Deco, the old guard, that was the beginning of the greatest football dynasty, and they gave the number 10 shirt to Lionel Messi, the greatest player of all time. I think, in my opinion, it is the greatest dynasty of all time because let me say this, you had a few things going on with that Barcelona team. You had Pep, who I think is the greatest manager of all time, come together. You had Lionel Messi, the greatest player, coming together. I believe you had the greatest midfield trio coming together at their primes. Iniesta, Xavi Hernandez, and Sergio Busquets. And like all those things coming together. And you had the connections with La Masia because Puyol was the captain from La Masia. Piqué came back from Man United to Barcelona from La Masia. You had Pedro coming in from La Masia, young player. You had a lot of, La Masia Academy graduates. Victor Valdez coming from La Masia. It was just a marriage, beautiful football marriage, just coming together at the perfect time. All of those people in their primes, at their best, and that was the greatest football dynasty in history, in my opinion. Man United, on the other hand, they had a really slow, if you remember, they had a slow start to the season. I think Ronaldo wasn't playing really well, and he was in and out. He had a few injuries and missed a few games. But they kicked on, they won the Premier League, they were fantastic, they went past Arsenal, dominant performances in both legs against Arsenal in the semi-finals of the Champions League, and they went into the Champions League final. And Gary Neville says this, they were confident of winning that final. They were confident of getting past Barcelona. They felt like they were the better team, and Barcelona were, they were the emerging team in Europe, and they were coming. But Man United had won 3 Premier Leagues in a row at that point, and they felt like they were the dominant team. They had won the Champions League the season before, and they were there to defend their title. Now, let's start off with the lineups of that game. Now, you have a lot of Man United talking a mess about the lineups. They now, we have 2020 hindsight, right? Now we look at this Barcelona team and we say that's the greatest team, probably number 1 or 2 of all time. And they're like, well, how are you expecting Man United to compete with Ryan Giggs, 40-year-old Ryan Giggs, playing in midfield for Manchester United? But when Ryan Giggs goes and dominates the Bernabeu 2 years later and plays well, and he's like the best player, the same Man United fans will tell you, Ryan Giggs, 40-something-year-old, bossing Real Madrid's midfield at the Bernabeu. Look at this, right? Manchester United had a fully fit team, fully fit squad. They had Van der Sar in goal, O'Shea right back, Vidic and Ferdinand centre back pairing, Evra. They had Carrick and Anderson. They had Park. They had Wayne Rooney playing on the left, and they had Ronaldo in the middle with Ryan Giggs as the captain, supporting the main striker Ronaldo at that point, right? And then you look at Barcelona's team. People don't realize this. And this is what irks me about the chat around Pep Guardiola. People will always say, Pep Guardiola needs to spend money to make great teams. He didn't spend a lot on this team. I don't know who I think the only player they signed coming into the season was Piqué from Man United. And he wasn't a lot. I think he costs probably just over £10 million. And that's all he had. He worked with a team that he had, and he made them great. People say, Pep inherited. No, he did not. Barcelona were not good the previous season. There's a reason why they fired Frank Rijkaard, right? And look at this team. Even in the final, they had a lot of injuries to deal with. They didn't have Dani Alves because of suspension. They didn't have Eric Abidal, their regular left back in that game. And they went into that game with a makeshift kind of, cut and paste defense. Silvinho at left back, they had Puyol at right back, and they had a midfielder, Yaya Toure. As big as he is, as strong as he is, powerful as he is not a centre back. He was playing centre back, Yaya Toure, And so, like, looking back, people will say Barcelona always had a better team. No, they did not. No, they didn't. I mean, if you look at the lineups, you'll say Man United have a fully fit squad. Barcelona had suspensions and injuries to deal with. Now, this was a rematch. This was like a rematch of the 2008, the previous season, semi-final, where Man United beat Barcelona to go to the Champions League final, where they won against Chelsea, right? So you have to think of that context and think Barcelona always had it in their minds that they lost to the same team the previous season and they wanted to get back. They wanted to win and win the Champions League. And the match started, it was a great game. Great start by Manchester United. Ronaldo had like 3 shots within the first 10 minutes. Man United played with so much energy. They were pressing Barcelona. They were, going at them. Like Ronaldo had a free kick. He had a long range shot saved. He had another long range shot with his left that was saved by Victor Valdez. And a great start from Man United. But I think it was around the 9th minute, like 9th, 10th minute. Samuel Eto'o, Iniesta gets the ball from midfield, drives through the midfield, and creates a chance for Samuel Eto'o, who was inside the box, a bit wide, a bit wide, but inside the box, got the ball, cut inside, and toe pokes it past, Edwin van der Sar. Great goal, great finish. And from that point on, class had begun for Manchester United. And it was like from that point on, you know what I mean? As I said, it was a great start by Manchester United. Great start. They had, played well, dominated. But Samuel Eto'o came from nowhere, scored a goal. Beautiful finish. And as I said, from that point on, class had begun for Manchester United. They couldn't get the ball. They couldn't string 2 passes. Barcelona were all over them. They couldn't get the ball to save their lives. And Barcelona were creating chances, shooting, everything. At that point, right, Barcelona were basically teaching Manchester United how to play football. The whole game. You hear Gary Neville talk about the match, and he says that was the first time he really saw, centre-backs kind of pull that wide to get the ball. And they were not afraid to play. You'd have the centre-backs going all the way. They were like fullbacks. The way how wide they were. You had the midfield coming in to collect the ball, and they started playing. And it was tiki-taka. Couldn't do anything with them. And, Lionel Messi with an iconic finish in the second half. Xavi Hernandez found himself out wide from the right-hand side. Beautiful cross into the box. And the shortest guy, literally the shortest guy on the field, jumps higher than Rio Ferdinand, who's like 6'4", jumps higher than Emmanuel Vidic. Couldn't see him, couldn't locate him. Edwin van der Sar is also 6'4", 6'5". He's a big goalkeeper, tall goalkeeper. And he heads the ball past him. And as he lands, his shoe comes off. It was like a Cinderella moment. Gets his shoe and he's off, kissing his shoe, kissing his boot, celebrating. One of the greatest, not in terms of like, the technique of the goal, but just the iconic moments, the weight of it all. It was such a big moment. And I feel like that was the beginning, or like, as I said, maybe like at the beginning of the season, but that was when the dynasty really got going for Barcelona, and they just went on to romp forward. They won 6 titles that season. They won the La Liga, they won the Copa del Rey, Champions League, Club World Cup, Euro Super Cup, Spanish Super Cup. 6 titles in one season. Insane game. Anyway, if you ever have the chance, go watch it. Tell me what you think. What are your thoughts? Which games do you want, or would you like me to talk about? Past games. I've got a lot of games that I've watched from the past that I do want to talk about. There'll be more coming, so please watch out for the space. Remember to also subscribe to the channel. Look us up on Facebook and on Instagram at We Talk Football 24 and at We Talk Football on Facebook. Playback. I'm very excited for the series. Playback. Let us know what you think. Who else do you want us to talk about? Which other game do you want us to look at and focus on? This was fun. But anyway, check you later. Have a nice weekend. Awareness.